I thought the Democrats were imploding. And yet Elise has got to leave the UN job so she can hold on to that seat. You've got, this was a Pennsylvania state race that the Democrats won, but it was a jurisdiction, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. It was a state Senate seat that Trump won by 15 points in November, and included the more conservative parts of a county that only one Democrat presidential candidate, Lyndon Johnson, had won since the Civil War. So Dems have to be feeling good about that. And then you've got the Matt Gaetz seat and the Mike Waltz seat in Florida, which are normally totally solidly red, but Republicans are worried about those. Elise Stefanik won her seat by 24 points last year, and the guy who is running to replace her as the Republican on the ticket is up 16 points. But still, Trump said, get back down there, Elise. We can't afford to lose it. So what's happening, Mark? What's happening?
Well, don't want to overstate the trend here, because the country, polls suggest people think the country's on the right track. President Trump is still wielding his power in a pretty dramatic and some ways unprecedented way. I think there's three things going on. First of all, with any president, the year after the election, you almost always see some sort of bounce back, right? The two gubernatorial races the year after the presidential, only two competitive races every year, are somewhat competitive, at least New Jersey and Virginia. And for years, they swung almost always to the president, the party not of the president. So part of it is just it's a year after. Second is some of the stuff the president's doing does not seem relevant on the economy to a lot of voters, particularly on inflation, whereas the president's focus been on the economy, it's been on tariffs. Most people don't understand that. Some people are worried about them. And we see consumer confidence is a little bit off. So, in some polls, a lot off. So I think there's an economic gap, and you see that in the president's polling, where his ratings on the economy are lower, and that's a big issue for voters. And then lastly, there's no perfect off-year election that's going to tell you, exactly what's going on nationally. But there's no doubt that a factor in these races is when Donald Trump isn't on the ballot, Republicans don't do as well. He's not on the ballot in these races. And Democrats finally have a little bit of pep in their step. They finally have a feeling of, well, we can't beat him in Washington. We didn't beat him in the last election. But if we win these special elections, if we donate money, if we volunteer, if we get energized, we can send a message to everybody that we want to check on Trump. I think all those things have combined to put Republicans back on their heels. Doesn't mean they're going to lose any of these races necessarily, although they did, as you say, lose the one in Pennsylvania. But this is a time, we talked about it on our show this morning. It's been the best week, we all agree, for Democrats since Trump got elected. And and that adds up to creating an electoral environment that's favorable right now for Democrats as compared to the mean.
Dan, Scott Pressler is the guy who went to Pennsylvania, moved there for more than a year prior to the vote, and really was very instrumental in turning it red. And he tweeted out, I'm going to be honest with you, even if you don't want to hear it. Republicans have been losing special elections all over the country, even red districts in Iowa and Pennsylvania. Democrats are fired up. Unless we begin focusing on ground game, we will lose 2025 and 2026. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I think James Blair, I think it was in an interview with Politico, the White House political director, recently said, it is a little bit of a problem that our team, meaning kind of Trump and MAGA supporters, are pretty kind of happy right now. And you're always a little less energized when you feel like everything is being accomplished that you fought so hard for. Whereas
angry MAGA is more effective.
Yeah, right. Whereas conversely, Democrats are fired up. And I think there's two things. Democrats are fired up about Donald Trump. They're fired up about the kind of incompetence and ineptness of their own leaders. And what you're seeing is this, we've had enough. And now, we are going to force action from the bottom up for our own party to get its act together. And so on the local level, on the grassroots level, we can all talk about AOC and Bernie Sanders. Their politics are not necessarily my politics. But what they're tapping into, what they're showing the party, hey, we can get 30,000 people to show up in a red state. That is hard. I was in politics for 20 years. The only person who's been able to do it for year after year is Donald Trump. Obama had a 2-year period where he was really hot, could fill arenas, and then it became a grind. Trump is the only one, and Bernie Sanders, who can do it. And I think that you're seeing, this week was Signal. It was a little bit of a ding, a self-inflicted error that Democrats said, okay, they're human a little bit, right? They were fumbling around, like it gave them some confidence. And so I think Democrats are energized, Republicans maybe not quite as much. And we'll see here. I also would not underestimate that what Mark said. Trump got elected on the economy and inflation, and he doesn't even talk about those things most of the time. Most of these press conferences, DEI, Doge with Elon Musk a lot, Ukraine, it's not on the economy. And I think voters are frustrated. And you combine that with Doge having kind of a little bit of a rickety, reputation in polls, you see some pieces together.
Megyn, the thing is,
go ahead.
Look, special elections are special. That's a fact. There are, though, lessons to be learned. And one of the things that I learned out of Pennsylvania beyond, the environment we just talked about, there's no question Republicans aren't as fired up as Democrats right now, but mechanics matter and candidates matter. And in Pennsylvania, by all estimation, the candidate was not very good. The mechanics on the ground were horrible. That's what worries me about the Florida 2 special elections. The first district, which is the one held previously by Matt Gaetz, should be okay. Jimmy Patronis has run statewide before and won several times. So he's a good candidate. He's got a good fundraising base. He's got people motivated. The 6th district, which is the Mike Waltz seat, which is the Republican nominee, State Senator Randy Fine, is not raising
Trump
the
carried
money
it by 30 points.
30 points. This should be a slam dunk. Now, again, it's special, so maybe he only wins it by 10 or 12, but right now it's dead even. There's even one poll that shows the Dem up. This should be a huge wake-up call. The candidates matter, the mechanics matter, but that should still keep it within 5 or 10. We have a problem. Scott Pressler is absolutely right, and that's the thing, is that at some point you can, those things matter for a few points here and there. We got a bigger problem, too, in terms of keeping the base motivated.
Well, it won't be long until they get angry again. That's Republicanism. There's always somebody disappointing you.
Go from fat and happy to angry in a big hurry.
Yeah, it's easy. The Wisconsin Supreme Court race we should spend a moment on too. I can't believe the amount of messaging I get on a daily basis about this race as somebody who lives in Connecticut. Like, why am I getting this online and everywhere? Elon's doing his, you'll get $1 million if you can show me that you voted. You don't have to tell me who you voted for. He's doing that thing again, going back out there. Everybody's sounding very alarmist on this thing. But the Democrat is up, and by a lot, according to the latest poll, where her name is Susan Crawford. She's up against Brad Skimmel, and it's 50-42, according to the latest poll of likely voters, 500 of them, although Wisconsin, they say, is like impossible to poll. So what's going to happen there, and why does everyone care so very much? And is it redistricting that this court is going to have the final say on?
Yes, that's the biggest issue. Redistricting. That's when that would be a huge issue that people should care about nationwide, not just the folks in Wisconsin. A lot of voter ID thing, a lot of early voting, all will go through the state Supreme Court. So yeah, for a lot of reasons, people should care about that. I think there's no question Democrats have the edge going to this. This is going to be a turnout thing, and that's why you're seeing Elon, Don Jr., others try to make the case, teletown halls, personal visits, et cetera. The Republicans could do themselves a huge favor if they pick up the Supreme Court seat. And I would say that they're not favored to do it, but it's definitely one of those things as we head down the stretch that they have every ability to do.
I can't think of any state. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
I can't think of any state whose Supreme Court decisions have been as impactful, not just in the state, but kind of nationally resonant as Wisconsin. And like the political culture and the states and the U.S. senators, they are actually purple, right? You can't think of very many states, because there aren't very many left, who have senators from different parties. Wisconsin does. Ron Johnson, far right MAGA. Tammy Baldwin, pretty far left. And you see on that state Supreme Court, the stakes are huge. Again, Wisconsin's probably been supplanted by Pennsylvania as the battleground state, but it's still number 2. And so the stakes are high in order to not just impact that particular state, but the symbolism is what's important to so many, to say we're going head to head with all the outside money and the state ground games to see who can win a very contested seat in Wisconsin. We've seen it before with Scott Walker. We've seen it before with the U.S. Senate race. It is high stakes there because of the national resonance of the state and our political culture.
So, Dan, is what's going to happen? Let's say that if the Democrat wins, then the Democrats control that court. And then is it true that that could mean as many as 2 congressional seats, additional congressional seats for the Democrats?
It could. I mean, we'll have to see. There's going to be a gubernatorial race in Wisconsin here in 2 years in 2028. And, we'll just have to see kind of how it shakes out. Look, what it does do is just give a little, momentum to the party. We just lost, but Tammy Baldwin did win there. I think one of the things that we're really watching for, all three of us, and Megyn, you probably as well, is Elon Musk in the fall last year was an asset to Donald Trump. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. He is now going there this weekend. He's put a lot of money into this race. He's been very vocal on X and other places. I'm curious if his presence helps, if he is still an asset, or if what we're seeing in polls that his favorabilities are coming down, his unfavorables are rising, like the Black Focus Group, people have concerns about him. Does he become a liability?
You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat's already sinking, and you don't buy gold when the economy's already collapsed. Clearly, others are heeding this advice as gold hit all-time highs already this year. It's not too late for you, and you could have Birch Gold help you diversify into physical gold. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA and physical gold for no money out of pocket. One recent 5-star review said Birch Gold was, quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the letters MK to the number 989898. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, just text MK to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.